loss of life. And as Americans, we're the ones who did that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the past now. Is a war. We did what we had to win. I mean, that's why both atomic bombs were dropped. But still,
also at the same time, they weren't expecting it. They weren't expecting.
No, they were expecting an invasion of the home island.
Yeah,
which we knew would be a colossal loss of American lives. So that's why it was so much easier just to drop the bombs and go, "Hey, are you going to surrender?" And when they said no, it's like, "Well, we're going to drop another one." And they were ready to drop a third one had Japan not surrendered.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's the thing, even with like the bombing of Pearl Harbor, they were not expecting they were expecting negotiations right off the bat. They weren't expecting us to be.
Well, that was the I can never remember the man's name, but he was.
It was one of the generals.
He was an admiral. He planned the attacks and all that, and he said, "Attacking America is what we're going to do, but it's also the worst decision we could ever make." Because America is essentially a sleeping dragon who, if we awake it, America was a powerhouse then. We could just shut down factories and start making war machines. I mean, we cranked out ships unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
And we got lucky with Pearl Harbor.
But also we had Popeye to help us.
We did. But we got lucky with Pearl Harbor that our aircraft carriers were out to sea during doing training.
Yeah.
They weren't in harbor. I mean, granted, Pearl Harbor was a horrible loss of life. A lot of battleships were lost, which were, at the time, battleships were the way to fight.
Yeah.
Before the aircraft carriers took over. But it was a surprise attack, caught us off guard. But America, we turned it right around. We came right back. We had a fleet ready to go within just a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And Japan didn't expect it. You're right. The Battle of Midway definitely proved that they were not expecting it. Especially with, San Francisco and all that stuff and all the coastal guns they had to put in place for all that. But an actual attack did take place on American land after that. And that's because of... but what I was saying is there was, balloons. They put balloons in the air and they firebombed part of Oregon.
Yeah. Killed
some people, American citizens that were actually in Oregon. And it's something a lot of people don't know about, but... I like how they handled the post-war aspect of it. As someone who has a history degree, my history degree is in World War II, but it's in German, the German side of it.
Yeah,
the Americans in Europe. But I do know a lot about the Pacific theater as well, and it's amazing how well they portrayed it. Now, later on in the movie, where they were talking about America didn't want to get involved with Godzilla because they were afraid the Soviets would take it as a...
Also with it, there was one review on this where it said, this wasn't as political as it should. It's
It shouldn't have been political at all. It's a monster movie.
Yeah. And I think even, they stayed at its home, that this is not, dealing with the political, this is dealing with the actual human aspect of what the cost of the war did and why... especially what happened after it. Because, especially, right after, things start picking up, he has to find a job. Because, right off the bat, it's okay, then, I have this girl I gotta take care of, and this baby.
Right.
That, just...
And the job he found was really cool. The way that they handled the whole aspect of it was done, and I mentioned when we saw the movie, everything was so period accurate.
Yeah.
Right down to the littlest parts. Everything looked beautiful.
So he gets a job demining the sea.
Yeah, well, I think they were in Tokyo Bay.
Yeah, so demining Tokyo Bay. So basically, what they were doing, they would, set off all the deep-sea mines. So, they were also magnetic, so they couldn't use a metal boat, so they were just using an old sea ship.
And the way he reacted at first was perfect. And then the fact that they had that doctor there explaining everything to him.
That's even kind of like the side characters, the doctor, the ship's captain, and the kid.
Yeah.
They were all they were actual engaging characters. Even to the point, I said, okay then. It also shows the aspect of family within the workplace.
Right, and I like how he started out as kind of like, oh, it's a new guy. We're going to show you how to do everything. But then, where he was a pilot, he's better at shooting a gun because he saw combat. And then that kid mentioned how, oh, I would have saw combat too. Had the war lasted longer, and how pissed off he got over that statement.
Yeah. Because even the older guy and stuff, and it was understandable. The kid didn't. It's like you don't realize what went on throughout that war. You don't see the cost
of that war.
And also, the same thing. Shoot, even even young American teenagers during that era also kind of acted the same way. It's just like, man, I wish, especially like Uncle Sam, I choose you and all that.
Yeah.
Like I choose you to enlist, and seeing how they even the kids trying to get them to join up, and there was a bunch of kids man, I wish I was over there fighting for all that, and so luckily eventually it gets to the point to where it's they realize this war is just flat out terrible.
Yeah. Which the Pacific Theater was a lot worse than. For the American side than what it was in Europe. Especially with how the Japanese would dig in and stuff everywhere. So his job's going great. He's making tons of money. He builds a new house.
He adds to it.
Yeah. It's he adds a room or something.
He adds a room to it. He's slowly rebuilding the house. And it's starting to look good.
His neighbor is starting to watch the little girl, and they're starting to be friendly to one another again.
She's kind of getting even the girl ends up. Akia actually gets a job.
Yeah, well, that's because of that comment he made when his friends were over.
Yeah,
when his coworkers were over.
Yeah, because they're nagging him. It's why aren't you going to marry this girl? She's amazing.
Yeah,
and there's that point also at the same time, you could tell he has feelings for her, but at the same time he's not ready for it. He doesn't know how to deal with it.
Well, he kept saying he was still fighting the war.
Yeah.
Because, he was still so traumatized by the loss of all those men, all those mechanics.
Well, also because of Godzilla. And there's points when he finally does reveal the story about Godzilla, because he's having nightmares. He's having, night terrors. Oh, yeah. Throughout the thing.
He reveals the story to her after Godzilla comes back. Remember, because they're out there, they have to go out and delay Godzilla with their wooden ships.
Yeah.
And they have, what was it, the Takio. So the heavy cruiser Takio shows up. So they're fighting Godzilla. Which, I want to say, first off, Godzilla in the water, coming at them with its head above water, was so awesome looking. Especially with he was going up through the waves and everything. It reminded you of Jaws or something.
And also with it, the way Godzilla was portrayed in this one does seem more realistic than the others. That he is a primal creature, and it shows his. If I'm being honest, I think this is maybe one of the more intelligent Godzillas in the franchise.
Maybe because they dropped the mine. They dropped the first mine. It doesn't do nothing to him.
No, what it was, they drop the mine and they gets him on the side, and they think, something's not right. Maybe if we get it in his mouth and then blow it up, it'll work.
Well, yeah, and so it blows up half of his face, and he looked dead. I mean,
I think it legit killed him. It it legit, by the way he was acting, because he kind of fell over, he kind of sunk over a little bit. And I think he legit died, but his regeneration factor is that good.
Yeah, he healed fast.
This is, I think, the best regeneration. I
think you're right, because when he healed, didn't his eyes roll back into place?
Well, yeah, this is, if it wasn't for the regeneration, the regeneration factor, he would have died. Movie would have been short. But also, he regenerated within a couple seconds.
Oh, it was great. And so, they think they're dead. And then Takio shows up.
Yeah.
And I think you're right with Godzilla being intelligent. What's the first thing he goes for when he's being attacked? He goes for the bridge of that ship.
Yeah.
Take out the command structure.
Oh, I forgot to mention, this is also one of the first movies where I think we actually see Godzilla mutate. Because if you remember, it shows Bikini Atoll.
Yeah.
And it shows the radiation affecting him. And you hear his roar in the water, and you can kind of see him slowly mutate.
Yeah, the Bikini Atoll thing. That they showed it in, which we haven't talked about, but they showed it in Monster Legacy. Monarch show.
Yeah, Monarch, yeah.
Now, what they showed in the movie and what they showed in Monarch looked like they went hand in hand. Even though Godzilla looks different, it almost looked like it was ripped right out of that movie. The little bit that they mentioned. Because they mentioned the roar, they mentioned Bikini Atoll, and then you see the huge explosion.
Yeah.
But when in the movie they show the island and they show Godzilla standing there and then the explosion. Which I understand this is supposed to be a different Godzilla, but I like how they kind of keep that lore correct. It's like no matter what, this is what Bikini Atoll was for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right, because also if you notice they were showing that map of ships and it was sank, destroyed, or damaged, sank. He was damaging and sinking ships as he was coming towards Tokyo. And I thought that was cool that they were going through and they were showing, like, this one was damaged and they had names next to him. And the bigger the ship was, it seemed like it was surviving with a lot of damage. But the littler ships were all getting destroyed.
Yeah. So once he gets... once he's regenerated, attacks the warship...
The heavy cruiser.
Yeah, the heavy cruiser. Like, they somehow escaped.
Yeah, our little ship escapes, but he destroys the Tokyo. Which, I'm going to say, when he jumps up on it, and I mean, he like lunges his whole body up onto that ship and taking out the bridge. Yeah. They turn those main guns on him, and they fire point blank. And he just falls into the water. They think they won. But then the water turns bright blue, and we get the beam right through the ship. That was awesome. It reminded me of what Legendary Pictures did with Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Or Kong vs. Godzilla, or whatever the title of that movie actually was.
Let's see. I don't think they've actually... Speaking of it, have they done anything similar to that in any of the Japanese films? I don't think they have, except for the very original one, where it just shows like in the old, like we're talking the original Godzilla or Jira. Yeah, where where the boat just floating around, then immediately bursts into fire.
You're right. I really don't think so, because isn't it mainly more of
this is more of a retelling of the original film.
Yeah, because in like the other ones, you have like flying ships and all that stuff fighting Godzilla.
Yeah.
So I think you're right about that. That may be the first one where they actually showed that in a long time. But we can also say that the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, as we all refer to it, had him destroy. He was fighting U.S. nuclear subs in that one.
Yeah.
But he didn't destroy no ships, though.
Well, except for the one at the beginning of the movie, when they first...
The fishing...
Yeah.
Which it looked like a cargo ship, but they said it was a fishing ship, but it looked like a giant cargo ship.
Either or.
Yeah, but yeah, he destroys that one. But then he pulls the fishing trolleys down, but we don't see him destroy no like big military ship.
No.
So
I don't think they do.
I don't even know if we can really call that a Godzilla film. I know by name it has that title, but I like to refer to it as Matthew Broderick's Godzilla.
I still consider 98 a Godzilla film. That's the thing. I get a lot of hate for that, but I still consider 98 a Godzilla film.
Yeah.
Even though it is different from like all the other Godzilla films, it is like I wish we would have got the sequels to it. I think it would have done better because
we got the cartoon. The cartoon was definitely
the cartoon was amazing, but like with some elements of the
which if you go back, we actually have a video of that in the older files. You can go back and watch that.
Yeah, on the YouTube page at the Real Coddle YouTube.
That's right, we do.
Or just look up Kaiju Review for You on YouTube, and it's one of the videos is there. But so back to -1. So, especially once Godzilla shows back up, we don't see a lot of the military explanation or anything on it. Like it's kind of just flat out sticks to the main character.
Yeah, Well,